full of dread. Screams loud enough to wake the dead. Lightning flash on a TV screen, left crackling long and lean. That girl has got a taste for fear, the red horror of yesteryear. She's making on little toys for all the devil's little girls and boys. She's coming now, the winded house. Go out, it's time to play with Ruby Tombsday. With Ruby Tombsday.
Welcome, Killdren! Welcome to Season 5, Episode 1 of the new Ruby Tombsday Horror Show. Oh gosh, it's been a long time coming. I cannot, and by we, I mean poor Nerd Wife too, because she's been going through this with me. We have finally shed our bonds over at Scener. We've gotten rid of that show. We've moved our show over here to YouTube. So this is going to be the centralized home for the show going forward. Thank you. Good to see y'all too. Nice to actually be able to see each other for a change. So things are going to change a lot over on this side. I think all of it's for the better. It's going to be a lot more dependable. I expect with any platform we're going to have issues with like that. We're going to have issues with tech. It's going to happen just by the very nature of things. However, all the testing we have done so far on this platform has been so much more dependable, and it's playing a lot more friendly with other people's tech as well. So enough said on all of that. We're going to leave that lie. We're going to focus on what's coming up now. So some of the things you're going to see differently here this year now on the Ruby Tombsday Horror Show is the films I do here, I'm going to have to do public domain films. And I know that is kind of a cringe death knell thing for a lot of horror hosts. They really don't like having to say that. And let's face it, having studios behind you that can afford licenses for films like Svengoolie does, like Elvira did, like Joe Bob does with Shudder, that is fantastic, and I would love to be able to do that. But unfortunately, the tech that allowed me to do what I did before and keep everything all legal and above board the way we want to do things, that kind of went away with Streamlounge. So when Streamlounge went away, Scener was our next best bet, which was still above board, but it wasn't dependable. It wasn't solid. YouTube here, we're going to focus on doing the public domain movies. But the good news of that is that we have horror and monster movies going back to the late 19th century. So we've got 150 plus years of horror film that we can work with. So that's exciting. I'm going to be bringing you a lot of that. Which brings us into tonight's movie, which is the Thomas Edision Kinetogram, silent film from 1910, the very first Frankenstein movie ever to be put up on the screen. Now this movie is largely forgotten. You say Frankenstein, of course, everyone immediately thinks of the Boris Karloff film. I do too, because I love those films. I have my special custom-made Ruby Frankenstein here. It's done in a Ruby finish that was made for us by Allright, Alex Taylor. I have the small glow-in-the-dark one over here too. I love, love, love my Boris Karloff Frankenstein films, and of course we all know my all-time favorite. Alex is just awesome, isn't he? We all know my all-time favorite movie is Bride of Frankenstein. So I do love those films. However, I think it's important to recognize the history of a thing, and the history of Frankenstein 1910 is especially cool in my estimation. This movie, again, was released in 1910 on Kinetogram. So at the time, in order to have the cameras to play the movies, you had to pay Edison to not only for the licensing of the films that were made, you had to pay for the cameras, you had to pay for permission to use the cameras, and then you had to pay to have a theater to Edison. So it was a license to print money. Good, bad, or ugly, he definitely knew how to market, and he knew how to lock in availability of his product. But I am not here to talk so much about Edison himself as about everything else. So this movie came out, and there's not even an actual movie poster in existence for this film. There were not even really promo cards that were sent out. They would send a little write-up along with the reel, and that would be about it. So it was kind of up to the theaters to try to hawk things themselves. There are images that go around you see of the Thomas Edision Kinetogram. It's basically some promotional stuff he sent out to the theaters, but nothing that was audience facing. So these movies would come out, they would run for a while, then they would kind of get dropped because, okay, everyone's seen this 4 or 5 times now because they're a nickel a piece or what have you. And they're on nitrate, which is even worse than acetate. These things dissolve and rot like you wouldn't believe. So for decades, it was thought that all of the copies of this film had been lost. And we've seen this happen before with 1922's Nosferatu. We've seen it happen with Werewolf of London, Werewolf at Night. We've seen it happen with Der Golem, and tons of other films, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, where these films would just be presumed absolutely lost to time because they just didn't live. They didn't survive. Yeah, and that's also true. You're right. Movies did not have start times until Psycho. That is crazy. And a lot of for the longest while, these real driving point, the two biggest things that put butts in seats in theaters were popcorn and eventually air conditioning. So it was a way that you could go in, buy something cheap to eat, and get out of the weather. And that was the only reason that a lot of these people went to movies, was just to get out of the rain, and get something in the belly and get out from the elements. So you would have people that would scrape together, hey buddy, have you got a dime? Well, this is prior to that, but just for the sake of getting into a movie theater. So instead of trying to buy the next meal, it was a movie ticket and popcorn. So in the case of these kinetoscopes, or kinetograms, it really, nobody cared what they were. It didn't matter. So the promotion just really wasn't a thing, because that wasn't what they needed to do to get people in the theater. And they didn't know anything about storage. These things were considered disposable media, because they didn't want to have the old stuff. You're going to see the next thing that's coming out. So they'd run these things to death, and they were fragile, so they'd break. They'd even catch fire because of the heat of the lamps in the films. All these things, there was no reason to believe they existed. So around 1950, I want to say 1955, this guy named Depcalf. Let me see, I've got his name over here. There he is. Alois F. Depcalf, also just called Al for convenience sake, was a film collector, and he would buy up old silent films and just old reels and things like this, just kind of collecting blindly. And eventually he bought a whole bunch of movies just in a lot and didn't really pay attention to what was in there. He was going through and found this old Frankenstein film. Well, that's kind of cool, and more or less just tossed it aside. And that's how that stayed. You could figure, you have an old Frankenstein film, well, no one's going to want to watch this. It's a silent film, who cares? And he just kind of left it alone until the American Film Institute in 1980 publishes their 10 most wanted lost films. And on that list is the 1910 Thomas Edison Frankenstein. And he realizes, hey, don't I have that? And he goes and checks, and like, oh wow, everybody thinks this film doesn't exist. I've got a copy now. Cha-ching, and he sees $signs, and he contacts the AFI, and he starts basically marketing the fact that, as far as they could tell, he had the only surviving nitrate print in 1980. So he's had this thing for 30 years now, and of course by this point, not only has he had it for 30-some years, it is now 70-plus years old, and the only one on Earth. So Detcalf starts touring. And he does like early conventions and like trade shows and all of these things. He would travel around the country with this reel in his hot, grubby little hands, and charge to display it at all of these different functions. And then he would that caught on, and the William Castle thing kind of occurred in his head. So he developed a character that he would play, a kind of a Father Time character. So he would show up to show people this lost film, hype it all up as best he could in local advertising, and then show up with this long white beard and long robes and a scythe and an hourglass as Father Time to present this old film. And whether that's just $signs and hustle, or an actual love for the showmanship of it or anything, I don't know. None of us know exactly why he approached it this way, but he did. Which, of course, that just kind of created more hype, so more people want to show. It's a great way to sell tickets, right? William Castle knew this. So Detcalf does this for a few years. Now, he gets approached by the Library of Congress and a couple other film history organizations, and they say, okay, we're not challenging your right to have the film or that you're charging to show it or any of these things. That's all free and clear. That's fine. But please, 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 it's the only print in existence. Will you at least let us restore it? Will you at least let us conserve it at the very least? You go in, stabilize the film, stop any deterioration as best they can. Can you, please, let's save this artifact. And Detcalf flatly refused. Absolutely said, nope, 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 not while I'm alive. Literally, not while I'm alive. He put it in his will, and that he did not want this film to be restored during his lifetime. He wanted it exactly the way it was, which I can understand wanting to preserve the history of the film. Like, this is how the movie is. I don't want to lose that. I can kind of understand that. But what you're doing is guaranteeing that eventually it's going to be lost. It becomes a certainty that what you're trying to save, what you're trying to hold on to, is going to cease to be, because continuing to run it without cleaning, without stabilization, without any of these things, means that this reel is going to cease to exist. Fortunately, fate protects ships, fools, and children, fools, and ships named Enterprise. It also apparently protects this film, because Detcalf finally passes away in July of 2005. Okay, so think about this. He bought this film in 1950. 2005, this man passes away. Now, he passed away in July of 2005, which means that last month was the 20th year since he passed away. Then, in 2014, the AFI and the Library of Congress get together with, I think it's called the Screen Conservation Project. They paired together and purchased the Detcalf collection of films, the whole collection, from his estate. In that collection, which was the biggest reason they bought it, in that collection is the only surviving reel of 1910's Frankenstein. Now it's in possession of the Library of Congress. They own the film. At this point, they get together with the, what's the name of the school? There it is. The Packard Campus of Audiovisual Conservation gets together, and they get a hold of the film in 2014. It's in their hands now, and they immediately set to work. And they stabilize, and they restore, and they save the film. So it is completely digitized now. That version is available to be seen in the restored form. The form I'm presenting tonight is what I would call the Detcalf film. It's the Detcalf copy. I didn't find the restored film, to be honest, until I'd already done all the work in prepping this one for tonight. So what I am going to do for the Patreon paid members, I will be publishing an article about the film, and as well as including the link to that film. You can find it by doing searches on the Internet Archive too. I'm not going to gatekeep, but I will be providing that link there. And it is a much better version of the film, much cleaner, higher resolution. It is pristine. It is stabilized, so a lot of the inherent shaking and camera speed mismatches, things like this, all that's been taken care of. So it is definitely the film the way Thomas Edison would have intended the film to be seen. But what people have been watching since 1980 is the film you guys are going to be watching here tonight. Now, the other thing about that is Metcalf actually, for all of not wanting to have the movie restored, he did have the movie digitized while he was alive. And he did that to have it printed to DVDs that he could sell for a few bucks a pop at the shows he was doing. And what's even cooler about that is if you go to YouTube and you find anywhere where they have the movie listed. Now the movie tonight, I've edited. I've got all kinds of goodies. I'm riffing it, so that's going to be a different situation somewhat. But if you go to YouTube and just find a copy of the 1910 film, what you're going to be seeing is the film ripped from the DVDs that Detcalf produced while he was alive. I think that's pretty awesome. So if you want to see the restored, cleaner version of the film, check out the Internet Archive. And do that anyway. They are now just became officially a federal library, so the Internet Archive is going to be protected going forward. And the more people go over and they use it and make themselves, aware of all of the amazing bits of history that are available in film and literature and everything else on the Internet Archive, definitely check that out, because the more of us that do that, the more favors we're doing for it and for other federally protected libraries as well. So please, please, please make that happen. So all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over now to our film. And here we go with the 1910 silent film, Frankenstein. Gosh dang, liberal adaptations of classical literature. Ah! Book learning! Seriously? You're just gonna yada yada 2 years of research? Alas, I found Yorick. I'll have to overhear Horatio. Let's see, eggs, milk, butter, laudanum. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so groceries, laundry. What else was it? I know there was something I was going to do. Oh, that's right. I'm going to go egg the Westinghouse Manor. You know, we all experimented in college. Bored. Did my chores. Westinghouse has already got that restraining order. Well, what's this? I should write her. Dear Penthouse, I never thought it would happen to me. How did we get here anyway? I mean, gentlemen, seriously, how did it go from writing beautiful love letters about dreams, ambitions, to... Hey, you up?
Damn quantum candles. You mean like Dan Snyder? Just a pinch of MacGuffin powder and a splash of Four Loko. I'm gonna have the best sea monkey tank ever. I'm making me a man. I mean, to be fair, it takes me forever to pull myself together in the morning, too. Do you see now, Mother? This is why I asked for that easy bake oven. Worse conductor since Bugs Bunny. Get me! It's so hot in here, I'm unmelting. I'm gonna sprout some limbs. I've got no eyes in my sockets. Go him! Matt, can you just hand me the towel over there? Victor! Vic, where you going? Vic! Damn it. Gotta lay off those meat pies from Mrs. Levitt's shop. Excuse me, man. Just trying to find the water closet. Ooh, hello, sailor. Ah! It's John C. Reilly! Please, 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 make no more Will Ferrell movies, I beg of you! Ugh. Again, sir? Bloody bathtub laudanum. There, Mr. Frodo. I'm here now. It's okay. Only 6 minutes and you forgot we were in this film, didn't you? I'm the Vic, oh the Victor's back. Necromancer, as a matter of fact. Just a moment, my boy. I'll fetch the geriatric gigolo from the closet. Alright, let's get this party started. Hey now, you only paid for 2. That's gonna be an extra 4 crown and another cup of gin. Edison never did quite master the power of the comma. 2 hours now and still can't find this Waldo. Ruby here The female lead, though never named in the title cards, is Elizabeth Lavenza, played here by Mary Fuller, Victor's love interest in the Mary Shelley novel. She was originally penned to be his adoptive sister, but was changed to his blood cousin in the 1818 edition. And you thought Luke and Leia's kiss in Empire was weird. Oh, is this the new Adam and Eve catalog? Yes, for your bridal registry. Oh, really? Don't need this promise ring anymore. Okay. Well, then I better start double-clicking my mouse. I mean, online shopping. Bye! I wonder if I can get her to dress like Westinghouse. Are those his feet or the tail fins off a 57 Chevy? You made me look like Tracy Ullman in Men in Tights. Heard her, Daddy. What the hell? Now, Elizabeth, go enjoy your wedding night. Are you coming? I'm not with you watching. Well, hello, noise. No, it's too late for flowers, Victor.
And there we have it. All right, in all of its very short glory, the 1910 silent film Frankenstein. Now, of course, other than bankrolling and controlling all of the money and all of the access and tech and everything else that Thomas Edison possibly could, he had next to nothing to do with the actual production of the films. Yeah, the whole thing is like 13 minutes. I think the original was originally believed to be 13 minutes long. It actually comes out to slightly longer than that. But I think the reason that the runtime comes up longer now is just because of the fact that they added in title cards. Not title cards, credit cards at the bottom of the film that weren't there originally. So yeah, it's a very, very short film. The whole thing was shot in 3 days, which is still kind of surprising given the fact they managed to do, so much with 4 sets. You get the 2 houses, which you recycle, the study, and the lab, and that's really about it. But yeah, so we owe a debt of gratitude to Edison in as much as he did help develop the technology involved. But he really did try to monopolize it, as was the style at the time. There was nothing to stop him. But eventually when studios started picking up, going from New York, which was New York and Chicago almost exclusively, and eventually as people started setting up doing things in California, they all started banding together and saying, you know what, let's not do this. And I think it was United Artists, that's how they came to be. It was basically they were trying to get out from underneath the Edison control and get some actual, freedom in the art form, which is, of course, how all art thrives, is the freedom to make itself. So I do thoroughly love this film. Again, when I do post the link, make sure you check out the restored version of the film. It is definitely cleaner. It is definitely a lot easier on the eyes. But I kind of love all the flaws and warts. So I'm glad that we were able to present that here tonight. I'm also glad that we have moved away from this thing of not sharing cast. Yeah, right. That's being a control freak. Never. Yeah, it's just getting same thing. Tesla either. Tesla never had hang-ups. OCD and misogyny. Excuse me. But yeah, the cost of genius, man. Maybe I'm glad I'm a nitwit. I don't know. So I do love this film. So this is kind of a taste of what we're going to be seeing going forward with the show. I love being able to take these films and present these historical films like this, but I also want to make sure that I can do it in a way that's going to be entertaining, approachable, fun, all of these things. So while it's not so much of the picture-in-picture like we used to see with Stream Lounge or with Scener, although there will be some of that going forward as I become more more comfortable with working with DaVinci Resolve 20. This is more or less what we're going to see now, and I kind of like the balance of being able to run the film and then play with you guys in the chat while that's going on. It's kind of it's a lot of fun for me, which means I'll be able to be a lot more productive and a lot more regular again. I hope that this is something that is fun for you guys. If it is, let me know. If it isn't, let me know. If there's things that need to be tweaked, more of this, less of that, whatever. We're at show 1 in the new season and on the new format. So things are going to change. Things are going to grow. We are literally building new technology for me to be able to use in the production of the videos. Good to hear. Glad to hear it, Aaron. We're actually building from the ground up kind of the Ruby Tombsday equivalent of the... it's not the Annoyatron. What was it? The apprehension engine that provides so many of the creepy, scary, atmospheric kind of background sounds that you hear in horror movies. We're building one of these from the ground up, and by ground up I mean I'm going to use an old busted cigar box and scraps of stuff I'm finding on the sidewalk when I walk to the subway. It's that ground up, literally. The next film that we're going to be doing is probably, and I say probably because I haven't set it in stone just yet, although I want to start production tomorrow. It's probably going to be Der Golem. Because I figure it's a very natural follow-up to Frankenstein, because Frankenstein, like myself, is a flesh golem. And, Der Golem is the original, based on the original Hebraic folklore of the golem. That's where the word comes from, is the Hebrew language. And from their folklore and mysticism and their history, that's where this story comes from. That story not only has a special place in the the empty socket where my heart is supposed to be for being a golem story, but also because of the fact that it is about the golem of Prague. And Prague is where my great-grandfather came from. My great-grandfather, Kitka, came over to the United States from Prague, fleeing the pogroms and everything that were going on at the time. He would have gotten here, I think it was 1917 when he arrived. So it's an important story for me. So be prepared. This movie's nice and short and sweet. Like I said, 13 minutes long. If I do Der Golem, it's going to be like an hour 20. So it's going to be a mixed bag. We're going to have movies that are going to be short and sweet, like tonight's show. We're going to have movies that'll be longer. Well, not all of them are going to be silent movies. Some of them are going to be newer. Some of them are going to be even older. I've got a show I want to do as a special for you guys coming up soon. There's a whole bunch of late 19th century, so late 1800s silent horror and monster movies, and they're like 2 and 3 minutes long each. So what I want to do is put together kind of a supercut of all of those and just run a bunch of those back to back for you as a hangout one night. So if you have ideas, if there's a particular movie you want me to look into, let me know. And even if it's not one that I can run, depending on whether it's a public domain status or not, let me know, and I can see about doing articles and write-ups and special stuff for you on that too. So anything you guys want to see, as always, reach out. I'm at Ruby Tombsday basically everywhere. On Twitter, on Blue Sky, on Instagram. I'm on Slasher, but very rarely, and of course here. So annoying YouTuber stuff, go ahead and like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that kind of stuff that you don't want to hear me say, and I don't want to have to say either, but it's important now. And I'm doing it without sponsorship, then it's fair trade. At least there's no commercials, right? I want to try to do, I say 2 of these a month, but maybe optimistic. So just stay tuned. And of course, all the news is going to break on my Patreon first, patreon.com/RubyTombsday. You can find me there. And if there's anything you guys want to work on together, if there's anything you guys want to see, you want me to write about, talk about, run, whatever, hit me up. I'll be happy to do it. So thanks so much for waiting through all of that silence. I know the show's been mostly dark for this year. I had to find a way that I knew was going to work and make it work, and this is going to be that. So we can definitely do stuff a lot more frequently, and I think a lot more fun. So thanks for being here tonight, guys. This was a blast. Thank you so much. This will be up for replay on YouTube here by tomorrow. That's the other thing. We get to actually bank shows now. So once I end the stream now, I no longer have lost everything that I've been working on. We get to save stuff now. So if you miss a show, the world is not lost. You can pull it up and watch it anytime you want. So until next time, folks, I'll see you next Tuesday. Good night. You have a great night. Thanks so much.